Hi, I'm Effie and I really enjoy a vampire story. I thought I'd do something a wee bit different today. Not super different, just a wee bit different. And I thought I would go through all of my shelves and pick out all of my vampire books on my physical TBR. I will at the end have some footage of my bookshelves, so please do let me know if there's any that I've somehow managed to miss, because obviously I'm not infallible and I probably am going to forget something, so I really appreciate if you can have a nosy and let me know what I've managed to miss. Since I think I'm going to have quite a few vampire books on my shelves, the way I'm going to do it is pull the books out, title, author, read the blurb, and then maybe talk for a few seconds about like my initial impressions based on reading the blurb and give them an intrigue score from 1 to 5. Let's just get into it, eh? Going through my shelves, I realised that I may also have the reverse true, and I may pick out books that I think are vampire-y but end up not being, so please also let me know in the comments if I've added a book that I think is vampire-y, but it's not actually. Thank you. So first up we've got Woman Eating by Kohda. Ooh, it's got a sticker in it. A dazzling, funny and addictive debut novel about identity and belonging told through the eyes of a young vampire. Lydia is hungry. She's always wanted to try sashimi, ramen, onigiri with sour plum stuffed inside, the food her Japanese father liked to eat. And then there's bubble tea and the vegetables grown by the other young artists at the studio she is secretly squatting in. But Lydia can't eat any of this. The only thing she can digest is blood, and it turns out that sourcing fresh pig's blood in London, where she is living away from her vampire mother for the first time, is much more difficult than she'd anticipated. Then there are the humans, the people at the gallery where she interns, the strange men who follow her after dark, and Ben, a goofy-grinned artist she's developing feelings for. Lydia knows that they are her natural prey, but she can't bring herself to feed on them. If Lydia is to find a way to exist in the world, she must reconcile the conflicts within her, between her demon and human sides, her mixed ethnic heritage, and her relationship with food, and in turn humans. Before any of this, however, she must eat. I believe this is somewhat of a slower, more lit-fic, as far as a book about vampires can be lit-fic, but I think it is more of a slower story, and I think vampirism is used as an allegory for, well, belonging and the way that you can feel like you're not enough for different aspects of your being. That's my thoughts anyway. I would say I would give this an intrigue score of 4. I think it's a kind of book that I'm gonna want to be in a particular frame of mind to read, but I think I am gonna really enjoy it. The next book is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. In 1872, New Orleans is a city ruled by the dead. But to 17-year-old Celine Rousseau, it's also a safe haven after she's forced to flee her life in Paris. Quickly enraptured by the vibrant city, from its music to its extravagant soirees and even its danger, she soon becomes embroiled in the city's glitzy underworld and part of the group known as Le Coeur de Lion. But when a body is found in their lair, Celine is forced to battle her attraction for the group's enigmatic leader, Sébastien Saint-Germain, and suspicions about his guilt along with her own secrets. As more bodies are discovered, New Orleans becomes gripped by the terrors of a serial killer on the loose, one who seems to have Celine in his sights. But when she finally takes matters into her own hands and finds herself caught in the midst of an age-old feud between the darkest creatures of the night, where the price of forbidden love is her life. I'm going to say that my intrigue of this is pretty high. I think that sometimes a more YA vampire story doesn't hit for me, but it sounds like it could be really intriguing. And you know what? I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for intrigue. Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett. Oh, this doesn't have much in the way of blurb. It just says, it's most unfair. Once people find out you're a vampire, they act as if you're some kind of monster. I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5 for intrigue because I love what I've read of Terry Pratchett's writing, and the idea that Terry Pratchett is writing about vampires makes me really excited. I will say that this is maybe halfway through the Discworld series, so when I get to it, I'm not sure, but I am very excited to pick this up. The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. Elise is cursed. Every time she touches someone, she experiences how they will die. And when she predicts but is unable to prevent her brother's death, Elise is desperate to escape her terrible gift. Then she meets Claire, a vampire tasked with helping Elise master her rare powers and recruiting her to the Veil, a secret organisation determined to protect the paranormal world at all cost. At first, Elise is reluctant to work with a vampire, but when she predicts a teacher's imminent murder, she's determined to stop the violent death. As Elise and Claire grow closer, Elise begins to wonder, can she really trust someone tasked with securing her loyalty, someone who could so easily kill her, someone who might hold the key to unravelling her brother's mysterious death? So this is another YA one, I'm pretty sure. And I think it's going to be really cute, but I also think it's going to deal with some tricky stuff because we've got grief mixed in here and also kind of discussions of fate and predestiny. But I think overall I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 for intrigue. I'm realising now that probably if anything's lower than a 3 for intrigue, it's probably not going to be on my shelves, but I guess we'll see. A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. And does this have a blurb, is the question. Oh, that's really weird. This is the Fairy edition. So, weirdly enough, it does not have a blurb. See, nothing there. Nothing on the inside flap, nothing on the outside flap. I guess I'm going to have to look up a blurb for it then. On the streets of White Roaring, Ahdieh Kashmir is a criminal mastermind and collector of secrets. Her prestigious tea room transforms into an illegal bloodhouse by dark, catering to vampires feared by society. But when her establishment is threatened, Ahdieh is forced to strike an unlikely deal with an alluring adversary to save it, and she can't do the job alone. Calling on some of the city's most skilled outcasts, Ahdieh hatches a plan to infiltrate the dark and glittering vampire society known as the Ethereum. But not everyone in her ragtag crew is on her side, and as the truth behind the heist unfolds, Ahdieh finds herself in the midst of a conspiracy that will threaten the world as she knows it. So I'd say I would give this a 3 out of 5 for intrigue. I am very interested in it, and it's something that I have been anticipating for a while because the release date kept getting pushed and pushed. But I think my biggest concern is that it's been compared to Six of Crows, which I really didn't enjoy. But I also know that I like Hafsah Faizal's writing. I really enjoyed We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars. So hopefully it will end up being something that I enjoy, but I'm not wholly convinced. Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chao. I feel like this is one of the books that I've kind of been like, I really want to read for so long, because on the face of it, this should be exactly my type of book, as we've got vampires and fox spirits, two of my favourite mythological creatures. Half vampire, half fox spirit, all trouble. Pawned by her mother to the king of hell as a child, Lady Jing is half vampire, half wailing fox spirit, and all sass-whore. As the king's ward, she has spent the past 90 years running errands, dodging the taunts of the spiteful Fledgling courtiers, and trying to control her explosive temper, with varying levels of success. So when Jing overhears the courtiers plotting to steal a priceless dragon pearl from the king, she seizes a chance to expose them once and for all. With the help of a gentle mortal tasked with setting up the central bank of hell, Jing embarks on a wild chase for intel, first through hell and then mortal Shanghai. But when her hijinks put the mortal in danger, she must decide which is more important, avenging her loss of face or letting go of her half-empty approach to life for a chance to experience tenderness and maybe even love. Oh, it sounds so good. This is a full 5 out of 5 for intrigue. 100%. Cruel Illusions, which is really hard to show on camera, by Margie Fuston. Ever since a vampire murdered her mother, Ava has been determined to get revenge. But 10 years later, having survived foster home after foster home, and without a single sighting of a vampire, Ava has begun to lose hope. That is, until she stumbles across a hidden magic show where she witnesses impossible illusions. The magicians may not be the bloodsuckers she's hunting, but Ava is convinced something supernatural is afoot. When she sneaks backstage to catch them in acts they can't explain, the magicians reveal they're part of an ancient secret society that possesses true magic, and that Ava has the same power in her blood they do. If she joins them as their apprentice, they promise to give her the power she needs to avenge her mother. But there's a catch. If Ava wants to keep the magic they offer, she needs to prove she's worthy of it. And to do so, she must put on the performance of her life in a sinister and dangerous competition where illusion and reality blur, and the only way out is to win or die. Caraval meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Ooh. I mean, I haven't read Caraval, but I am a big fan of Buffy. I think I'm going to give this a 3.75 for intrigue, because there's some bits that it's going to be very much down to the execution. But on the face of it, I think it could be a really good time. I'm honestly a wee bit surprised, but I actually don't think I physically own that many vampire books. So I guess drop me recommendations, because this has not many vampire books for all the things I have on my shelves. The next 4 books, I'm not going to go into blurbs, but we've got volumes 3, 4, 5 and 6 of the Search to Freak manga, which the original books were published as the Saga of Darren Shan in the UK, but Search to Freak in the US, I think. And these books, well, these are manga adaptations of an original, I guess, middle grade series. And basically in this series, a young boy discovers the world of vampires and a lot of crazy adventures are happening. I don't want to give too much away, so I keep making promises and I keep not sticking to them. So I'm not going to give myself a timeline, but I'm working my way through rereading the original book series, and I'm also like reading the manga alongside. And I really like the way that they're depicted, or at least I really like seeing them depicted, because I don't see any images when I'm reading. But at the same time, it is interesting to see the ways that like clearly changes have been made from the story for the manga, sometimes for storytelling purposes, sometimes just randomly whitewashing characters. We've got a couple of series here, so I think what I'll probably do is just read the blurb for the first book in the series. So first up we have the Saga of Larton Crepsley by Darren Shan. And the blurb for the first book says, the epic prequel to the Saga of Darren Shan begins. When terrible events force young Larton Crepsley to flee his home, he finds himself alone in the world. Then he meets the mysterious Seba Nile, who introduces him to the ways of the vampire clan. but will learn and turn his back on humanity forever. So, as I just said, I really, really enjoyed the Saga Darren Shan as a kid. I'm particularly interested to see how I get on with these, because there's not going to be any nostalgia attached to them. But at the same time, we are following a character that I really love in the original Darren Shan books. So it's interesting to see like where his story goes. I will say though, like, it always annoys me that, like, you look at the spine and apologies if you've got arachnophobia, but you look at the spine and like these 3 books have an image of a spider going across them, and then it just like isn't completed there, and it makes no sense to me, or at least like it doesn't look like it's completed there. But anyway, my intrigue level, I'm going to give it a cautious 4.5, just because I don't really know what I'm going to think, given that there isn't the nostalgia involved. Peeps by Scott Westerfeld. Okay, let's clear up some myths about vampires. First of all, you won't see me using the V word much. In the Night Watch, we prefer the term parasite positives, or peeps for short. The main thing to remember is that there's no magic involved, no flying, no transforming into bats or rats either. We're talking about a disease. After a chance encounter with a mysterious woman one night, Cal Thompson's life is changed forever. He's been infected with an insidious parasite. The good news, he's only a carrier, still sane without the worst of the symptoms. The bad news, he's infected all his former girlfriends, and now they've turned into what Cal calls peeps. The rest of us call them vampires, and it's Cal's job to hunt them down before they create even more of their kind. I'm a little cautious about like vampirism as a disease, or at least like being explicitly called a disease, because realistically a lot of vampire stories will have vampirism as a disease, but like it's a little uncomfortable, I guess. But also I feel like I enjoyed the Ugly series by this author as a teen, but I'm also have no idea how well it aged, and it probably didn't age particularly well. But regardless, I am intrigued to see what I think about this. I'm going to give it a 3.5 for intrigue. A Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. This was actually unhauled to me by my best friend, and I think she just like wanted to know what I thought about it. It's the only book I've got in the Vampire Academy series, but I am fascinated to see how I get on with it. So, only a true best friend can protect you from immortal enemies. Lisa Dragomir is a mortal vampire. She must be protected at all times from the fiercest and most dangerous vampires of all, the ones who will never die. Rose Hathaway is Lisa's best friend and her bodyguard. Now, after 2 years of illicit freedom, they've been dragged back inside the iron gates of St. Vladimir's Academy. The girls must survive a world of forbidden romances, a ruthless social scene, and terrifying nighttime rituals. But above all, they must never let their guard down, lest the immortal vampires take Lisa forever. I would say that this is probably a 3.25 for intrigue, just because it's one of those that I could see the execution either being really good or really bad. But I look forward to seeing what I end up thinking about this book and seeing if I choose to continue it. The next book doesn't have a blurb, so I'll have to look it up. And it is Delirium Nocturnum, House of Glass by Rojana Krait. Of course, they're on KU now. A sapphic vampire tale bleeding with desire and obsession, ecstasy and agony, a dangerous thirst for vengeance, and a forbidden slow burn femme-ex-femme love story with a shocking conclusion. I slay the beasts that stalk this city of decay, but don't be fooled. None of them are as monstrous as me. 100 years of bloodstains on my tongue, and only 2 things that keep me going are my vows to my sisters and my dark angel, my Aya. I'll do anything to protect her from her demons, but who's going to protect her from me? I think it's going to be a dark and seductive kind of story, and it's one that I've had my eye on. Obviously I own it, but I've had my eye on for some time, and I managed to get the paperback when it was quite a low price. So I was like, yes, I'm getting this. I definitely want to read this. Yeah, I don't know. It's an intrigue of like 4.25. The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. To you, perceptive reader, I bequeath my history. Late one night, exploring her father's library, a young woman finds an ancient book and a cache of yellowing letters addressed ominously to my dear and unfortunate successor. Her discovery plunges her into a world she never dreamed of, a labyrinth where the secrets of her father's past and her mother's mysterious fate connect to an evil hidden in the depths of history. So obviously the synopsis doesn't tell you very much, but then a couple of the blurbed reviews mention things like Dracula, Bram Stoker, undead, etc. So I think it's meant to be set around the time of like Vlad the Impaler and his original like origin that inspired the what we now know as Dracula. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 for intrigue. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I'm gonna give this a 3 for intrigue off the bat, because I've heard it's not very vampire-y and it's not great, but I'm still wanting to give it a try. So the blurb says, Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic. Her teenage kids have their own lives. Her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. At these meetings, there's likely to talk about the Manson family as they are about their own families. One evening after book club, Patricia is viciously attacked by an elderly neighbour, bringing the neighbour's handsome nephew, James Harris, into her life. James is well-travelled and well-read, and he makes Patricia feel things that she hasn't felt in years. But when children on the other side of town go missing, their deaths written off by local police, Patricia has reason to believe James Harris is more of a Bundy than a Brad Pitt. The real problem, James is a monster of a different kind, and Patricia has already invited him in. Little by little, James will insinuate himself into Patricia's life and try to take everything she took for granted, including the book club, but she won't surrender without a fight in this blood-soaked tale of neighbourly kindness gone wrong. The Deathless Girls by Kiran Milwood Hargrave. I almost didn't pick this up from my shelves, but then it is described as a breathtaking origin story for the brides of Dracula. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They say the thirst for blood is like a madness. On the eve of their divining day, 17-year-old Lil and her twin sister Kizzy are captured by the cruel Boya Valkar. Forced to work as slaves, they are stripped of hope, power, and everything they've ever known, until Mira, a fellow captive, gives Lil something to live for and someone to love. But when the sisters hear of the mythical dragon, more monster than man, who accepts girls as gifts, their desperate existence is threatened once more. In this brutal world of dark desire and destiny, the girls must fight to save their own flesh and blood, even if that means accepting a fate beyond death. So I think when I first read the blurb for this, I thought that it meant like a literal dragon, but Dracula literally means like son of the dragon. And I think it's done like very cleverly that in the blurb, they've capitalized dragon. And you're like, oh, as in the surname. But I have surprisingly yet to read a book by this author. But they are someone that I have had like multiple books by them on my shelves. and I just somehow never gotten around to reading one. I'm going to say my intrigue for this is 4.5. Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. Shari is a mystery. Found alone in the woods, she appears to be a little black girl with traumatic amnesia and near-fatal wounds. But Shari is a 53-year-old vampire with a ravenous hunger for blood, the lost child of an ancient species of near-immortals who live in dark symbiosis with humanity. Genetically modified to be able to walk in daylight, Shari becomes the target of a vast plot to destroy her and her kind, and in the final apocalyptic battle, her survival will depend on whether all humans are bigots or all bigots are humans. I am so excited to pick this up. I have heard some valid criticism about the way that Shari being in a little girl's body potentially makes it uncomfortable for people, and there's kind of discussions around the way that she is sexualized, which I will obviously go in understanding that this is a criticism people have of it and being aware of that. I wonder if, because I know that I'll get something different out of this book, I am going to give this a 4.75 for intrigue. And we have another series. I don't know if this is all the books in the series, but I have 5 books in the, I think it's called the Blue Blood series by Melissa de la Cruz. So I'll just read the blurb for the first one, which is Blue Bloods. And it says, they're young, fabulous, and fanged. They rule Manhattan from the trendy uptown clubs to the downtown boutiques. 15-year-old Skylar Van Allen has never quite fit in at her exclusive prep school. She's more of a vintage than a Versace girl, but all that's about to change because Skylar has just found out she's a blue blood. The Blue Bloods are the city's glamorous and secret vampire elite. They're young, beautiful, and powerful, but now they're being murdered, and Skylar must find out who or what is behind it before she's next. Ooh. I have read one book by Melissa de la Cruz before, and it didn't quite work for me, so I'm a little bit hesitant. But that blurb was kind of giving me Gossip Girl, but what if they're vampires? And that is very exciting to me. So I think I'm going to give it a cautious 3.75 for intrigue, just because like the author makes me hesitant, but the blurb makes me want to pick it up. Court of the Undying Seasons by A.M. Strickland. When Finn takes her secret love's place in the village's finding, she's whisked away to Castle Court's Heart, a notorious vampire school where human students either become powerful vampires or spend the rest of their lives as lowly human thralls. If they survive long enough, that is. But Finn has no intention of becoming a vampire. Instead, she's determined to learn how to kill vampires and avenge her mother, who was taken by the vampires years ago. But Court's Heart is as captivating as it is deadly, and Finn is quickly swept up in her new world and its inhabitants, particularly Gavron, her handsome and hostile vampire maker, whose blood is nothing short of intoxicating. As she uncovers a string of murders, Finn discovers a deadly ritual that threatens both vampires and humans. She must find the killer before she loses her life or betrays her heart. Get ready for a thrilling journey into a world of vampires, power, and danger. So I think I'm going to give this a 3.75 for intrigue, just because, once again, it's a kind of more YA scenario. I'm not sure if this is a YA book or not. It's published by Hodscape, which I can't remember if they only do YA or not. So yeah, being a more YA scenario makes me think maybe it may not hit, but it also might, and that's cool. Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. Hundreds of years ago, she was known as La Minche, a Nahua woman who translated for the conquistador Cortez. In the centuries since, her name has gone down in infamy as a traitor, but no one ever found out what happened to La Minche after Cortez destroyed her people. In the ashes of the empire, She was reborn as Malinali, an immortal vampire, and she has become an avenger of conquered people, traveling the world to reclaim their stolen artifacts and return them to their homelands. But she has also been in search of something more, for this ancient vampire still has deeply human longings for pleasure and for love. When she arrives in Dublin in search of a pair of Aztec skulls, artifacts intimately connected with her own dark history, she finds something else. Two men who satisfy her cravings in very different ways. For the first time, she meets a mortal man, a horror novelist, who is not repelled by her strange condition, but attracted by it. But there is also another man, an immortal like herself, who shares the darkness in her heart. Now Malinali is on the most perilous adventure of all, a journey into her own desires. So beyond the fact that V. Castro is an author that I wanted to try for a while, and it's vampires, this cover is very much giving me Queen of the Damned, and that makes me really excited. I'm going to give this one a full 5 for intrigue. I do really want to dive into this as soon as possible. And the fact that it seems to be a bit of a different perspective, a bit of a different story, makes me very excited to pick it up. And the final vampire book, I think, on my shelves is The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. In a small Alaskan town, a boy is found with his throat ripped out and the blood drained from his body. The brutality of the murder chillingly echoes a killing from 25 years ago. Out-of-state detective Barbara Atkins is brought in to assist the sheriff, Jensen Tucker, who investigated the original case. However, the inhabitants of Dead Heart believe they know who is responsible, one of the nearby vampire colony who live in an old mining settlement deep in the mountains. Barbara is under pressure to authorize a cull of the entire colony, but the evidence doesn't stack up. People are lying, and the more Barbara and Tucker delve into Dead Heart's history, the darker the secrets they uncover. As the snow thickens and the nights grow longer, another teenager goes missing, and body parts are found. Time is running out for Barbara and Tucker to find the truth. Are they hunting a cold-blooded murderer or a bloodthirsty monster? And which is more dangerous? So I'm going to straight off the bat give this a 4 for intrigue. I think I am fascinated to kind of know what's going on. I don't know if I want it to actually be a vampire or not. I think it would be kind of misleading if it wasn't, but at the same time, I understand that it's meant to play on the idea of what's more terrifying, the supernatural or the very I say natural, or the very human danger that people have to each other. So those are all of the physical vampire books that I have on my TBR. As I say, after I've said bye, I will play some B-roll of my shelves. So let me know if there's any that I have somehow managed to miss. And if you've got any recommendations for books I should add to my TBR, I am always all ears. But until next time, love you. Bye.
Crazy how I feel, but something in my heart is saying that it's real. could be underground.